Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're going to unpack 180 years of history to see exactly how our personal privacy slowly, quietly vanished right under our noses. Let's just dive straight in, because we're tracing a pretty fascinating and, honestly, slightly terrifying journey. We're going all the way from dusty old filing cabinets to that smartphone sitting in your pocket right now. To really wrap our heads around what happened here, we need to think about a classic metaphor. Just picture a frog dropped into a pot of nice, cool water. If the heat rises slowly enough, just degree by degree, the frog settles in. It never even notices the change. And by the time the water is actually boiling, well, the frog is way too weak to jump out, and it's just too late. So the real question for us is, how exactly did we end up in the boiling pot? Over the course of this explainer, we're going to explore how a mix of new technology, shifting laws, and quiet corporate policies basically eroded our privacy degree by degree, while most of us barely noticed a thing. We're going to track this chronologically, basically watching the temperature of our modern world rise. All right, phase one, the comfortable cool. We're talking pre-1990s here. At this point, the water feels great, and our frog is happily swimming around. But get this, the machinery of mass surveillance was actually already being built, just with paper and ink. Look way back at 1841. The Mercantile Agency starts the first systematic tracking of individual credit and personal character. I mean, this was literally the birth of the data broker. By 1921, credit associations had expanded across 230 cities, building mass archives of personal behavior on millions of ordinary Americans. Now, as tracking grew, so did the pushback. In 1965, a landmark case called Griswold v. Connecticut established a constitutional right to privacy, a huge beacon of hope. And later, in 1974, the Privacy Act stepped in to regulate how the federal government stores our data. So here, the water is still room temperature, everything feels analog, and everything feels completely normal. Then we hit phase two. The water begins to warm. Welcome to the 1990s. So the 1990s internet boom hits and the water starts warming up. The frog is splashing around, totally delighted by all this new digital connectivity, and completely misses the fact that someone just turned on the burner. See, we weren't just reading static pages anymore. We were interacting. But to make that smooth, developers needed a way for websites to actually remember who you were from one click to the next. And that brings us to a massive turning point in 1994. Netscape invents the browser cookie. Now, a cookie is just a tiny file on your computer, but its invention meant that for the very first time, websites could track your online habits and actually follow you around. The global response to this was wild. In 1995, the European Union saw the red flags and issued its first data protection directive to set up some guardrails. But over in America, total Wild West. A landmark study in 1997 found that out of the top 100 most visited websites, only 17 even bothered to have a privacy policy, and 0 of them met basic standards. Our data was officially up for grabs. Moving into phase 3, the heat rises. This spans from 2001 to 2012. Following September 11th, fear justified a massive expansion of surveillance. The water got noticeably warm. We shifted around uncomfortably, sure, but we stayed put. In 2001, we saw this crazy contrast. On one side, unbelievable convenience. The first GPS-enabled mobile phones literally put maps right in our pockets. Yes, privacy advocates raised alarms about cell signal tracking, but hey, we loved the utility. On the flip side, massive surveillance. Just 45 days after 9/11, the Patriot Act passed. This gave government agencies sweeping new powers to monitor phone calls, emails, and financial records, often without even needing a warrant. We were trading privacy for convenience on one front and privacy for security on another. And man, the government's appetite for data just exploded. In 2002, the Pentagon proposed a program called Total Information Awareness. The goal? Connect travel records, credit cards, medical data, and emails into one giant surveillance web. Now, massive public outcry did kill the official program, but here's the really chilling part. A lot of its pieces quietly survived and were just built anyway under different names. This steady expansion climaxed in 2008 with the FISA Amendments Act, which created Section 702, which allowed the NSA to collect the communications of foreign targets. But because of how the internet fundamentally works, it ended up sweeping in huge amounts of ordinary American data as incidental collection. They were basically treating our everyday emails and calls as collateral damage caught in their net. By the end of this phase, your phone, your browser, and your government were all quietly building a file on you. Which brings us to phase 4, the boiling point, 2013 to the present. This is where the frog finally feels the burn, but is just too weak to jump. We've come to realize that mass surveillance isn't some fringe conspiracy theory. It is quite literally the modern infrastructure we use every single day. In 2013, the Snowden revelations shocked the world. Documents exposed programs like PRISM, showing the government had direct access to data from major tech companies. For the first time, the general public saw undeniable proof that the internet activity and phone records of millions of ordinary people were being hoovered up in bulk without individual warrants. The curtain was totally pulled back. So let's see how this last decade has played out. After Snowden, we did get a major legal win in 2018 with Carpenter v. United States, where the Supreme Court ruled police actually need a warrant for your long-term phone location data. But, technology always outpaces the law. Fast forward to 2021, and the Pegasus Project reveals military-grade spyware infecting the devices of journalists and lawyers all over the world. Literally no one's device was safe. And then just recently in 2024, the reauthorization of Section 702, known as RISA, actually expanded surveillance powers. Now they can legally compel almost anyone with physical access to internet infrastructure, like an ordinary IT worker or a data center cleaner, to hand over access to your data. The net just keeps getting wider and wider. So what's the ultimate result here? A fully surveilled reality. We are now living in a fully surveilled reality. The pot is boiling, and we are definitely no longer comfortable. This entire system was built quietly around us while we were just busy enjoying the amazing conveniences of modern tech. Let's break down the 3 main pillars of our new reality. Number 1, your location. Sold. Your smartphone tracks you constantly, and data brokers legally sell that information to advertisers and even to law enforcement, letting them bypass the need for a warrant entirely. Number 2, your social web mapped. By just using metadata, the data about your data, like who you call and for how long, analysts can map out your relationships and predict your behavior without reading a single actual message. And number 3, privacy is nearly impossible. Surveillance isn't just for suspects anymore, guys. It's baked into every single app and device we rely on. Trying to opt out basically means opting out of the modern world completely. So we return to our frog. The real tragedy of the boiling frog is that it never jumped out. Because every single degree of lost privacy, a new browser cookie here, a super helpful map app there, a new security law over there, it all felt entirely too small to matter at the time. The changes were incremental, but the final result is absolute. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to just look at the devices sitting around you right now. Think about the conveniences you trade for your personal data every single day. The water is already boiling. The surveillance infrastructure is fully built. The only question left is, will you notice the heat in time to actually do something about it?